15 years on from their last clash in the Champions League semi-finals, Barcelona and Inter Milan convened for another last four tie, with the Stadio Luis Montjuic in Barcelona playing host to today's first leg of the UCL semi-final. Inter prevailed back in 2010, but Barca now aim to eliminate their Italian rivals and meet either Arsenal or Paris Saint-Germain in next month's title decider. Having made it through to the semis with apparent ease, Barcelona are now bidding to reach the Champions League final for the first time since claiming their fifth European Cup in 2015. Barca's bitter rivals Real Madrid have subsequently claimed the continent's top trophy 5 times. But the reigning champions are now out of the season's campaign, while Blaugrana's fearless young squad are still standing strong. In their first European campaign under the German boss Hansi Bobo, they have scored at the rate of 3.1 goals per game. That's really stunning. Only Flick's former side, that's the Bayern München, scored a higher rate, that is 3.2 average scoring per game. Let's look at some of the fundamental aspects of this game. Of course, we start with the press there, and Lamine Yamal and Hansi Flick were on press and they discussed a lot of details about this game. The first thing I want us to look at is Hansi Flick's response to the question, what do you think about Inter with this record, the poor record they have had in the last couple of games, losing 1-0 against Roma, losing to AS Milan 3-0, and just losing the grip of Syria there. And Hansi Flick was really direct with his response here. This of course does not mean they are going to be complacent as well in the Champions League. The Champions League is a different competition and we expect them to deliver their best in this. Maybe that's where they have reserved their energy to add, so we are not supposed to be complacent going into this game just because Inter Milan has been on a losing spree. Lamine Yamal also impressed there, asked a lot of things. I don't want to go into the details there, but one thing was really important and significant about him, and he was asked about the key players he thinks he has had in this team. Of course, he said many people talk about him, Pedri and Rafinha, but they forget about these two men, Frenkie de Jong and Inigo Martinez. He said they have been spectacular. They've been really the fortress of this team as well, and they're playing at a high level, part of this team's success. Let's just look at some of the records for these teams. Of course, Barcelona in this season's Champions League have won 9, drew 1 game and lost 2. That's against Borussia Dortmund in the second leg of the quarterfinals and against Monaco in the first game. Inter Milan, on the other hand, have won 9, drew 2 games and lost only 1 game. They have a total, we as Barcelona are the highest scoring team in the Champions League, having scored 37 goals in this season's competition, while Inter Milan have scored only 19 goals. But again, Inter Milan is the lowest conceding team in terms of goals in this season's Champions League. That tells you about the low block, how they play and how it's going to be different to crack that low block. Again, out of goal scorer there, Rafinha with 12 goals, and I hope he's going to score more to ensure that he takes the golden boot. At the moment, Guirassy is still ahead of him. I hope he scores today. My prediction, Rafinha to score so that he takes that golden boot. Of course, Inter's goal scorer top there is Lautaro Martinez. And then, of course, we have the best midfielder in the world at the moment. We brag of him. We have to enjoy him as much as he still lasts and he still exists. Pedri with a pass accuracy of 87.84, but that's not far from Inter's best as well. They have Barella with a top of 87.50 pass accuracy. That is really striking. That's really important. Again, let's look at our defense line. Of course, we have been having a good defense this season, but Inter is the best defensive team. Our head-to-head records, of course, there. Barcelona have won against the Inter in this time 8 times. Inter have won only 3 times, and we have drew a total of 8 games. Now, let's just go into the first 11 of this game and talk about the tactical elements of this game. Of course, for Barcelona, I expect to see Szczesny at the post. Szczesny will definitely still be number 1 in this game. I expect to see a centre-back duo of Inigo Martinez and Pau Kubasi, the best we have had and the one we fielded at El Clasico. I expect to see Gerard Martin on the left. I don't think Balde will take part in this today. I expect to see Koundé on the right. And then, of course, the metronome, Pedri, the best midfielder in the world, alongside Frenkie de Jong in the midfield. I expect to see Lamine Yamal, the best there in the right wing, and then I expect to see Olmo as number 10. I expect to see Rafinha on the left, and of course Ferran Torres as the number 9 in this game. What about Inter? I expect to see Soma, of course, there, Asebi, Bissett, and Pastoni, that they play with a back line of 3, that of course 5 defenders, but of course these 2 wing backs are always filling up in the midfield position, so that is 3, 5, and 2. Yes, that is their typical way of playing this game. So I expect to see Kanaloglu and Barella and Mkhitaryan in the midfield, of course, with Dumfries and DiMarco on the wings, always filling up those spaces in the middle, and of course a front two of Lautaro Martinez and Thuram. So I don't know if Thuram will start again, but of course there were reports there of an injury. Maybe he's fit, but I think he's the most favorable player to start there. Let's just look at some of the tactical elements of this game. Of course, being a low block team, Barcelona is really going to struggle to break through. But one thing I love about this game is that Barcelona will have much of the ball. We just have to be cautious about those run spaces behind our high line, because Lautaro Martinez has been really effective when he plays for Inter Milan, and those runs behind our high line really could cost us today if we are not careful. And of course, there with Gerard Martin being the left back there, we have a weakness. Could we see a situation where maybe Nico Martinez will come as a left back and Araujo plays in the centre back position? I don't know, but I think that is one of the weaknesses we have into this game, and we have to really consider it. Again, Barcelona will easily control the midfield, because as much as they have many players there in the midfield, we have a good midfield. We have the best in Europe at the moment, and they should not struggle with this Inter midfield. Again, attacking wise, we have the best. I want Rafinha to do his best and score in this game. So having attacked with Lamine Yamal on the left, he's able to attract more players again to his side, and that creates space for Olmo in those pocket spaces. It creates space for Ferran Torres, and creates spaces for Rafinha. I expect Rafinha to score in this game and Barca to win, at least with more than 2 goals. Barcelona win this 3-1 is my prediction. Let's go and watch the game. Let's enjoy Visca Barca, Visca El Catalunya.